Here is the truth that nobody in your English class ever told you. The reason you freeze up, the reason your sentences come out slow and broken, the reason you understand everything when you read it, but the moment someone speaks to you fast, your brain just stops. The reason you practice for months, even years, and still feel like something is missing, like there is this invisible wall between you and fluency, that reason is not your vocabulary. It is not your grammar. It is not even your accent. It is the fact that you are thinking in your native language first. Right now, as you are processing what I just said, some of you translated it. You heard the English words, converted them into your language, understood the meaning, formed a response in your language, and then tried to convert that back into English. And by the time you finished all of that, the moment was gone. The conversation had moved on. You smiled and nodded like you understood, or you said something and it came out wrong, and you felt that familiar sting of frustration. I know that feeling, and I am going to help you eliminate it completely. What we are going to do today is not a traditional English lesson. I am not going to give you a list of vocabulary words or walk you through grammar exercises. What I am going to do is fundamentally rewire the way your brain handles language, because fluency is not about knowing more English. Fluency is about thinking in English, and thinking in English is a skill. It is a trainable, learnable, completely achievable mental skill that anyone, at any age, at any level, can develop with the right approach. Over the next 2 hours, we are going to go deep. We are going to talk about how your brain actually processes language, why the translation habit forms in the first place, and most importantly, how to break it permanently. We are going to cover 10 powerful chapters that will change everything about the way you approach English. By the time we are done, you will not just understand the concept of thinking in English. You will have real tools, real techniques, and a real path forward. So settle in, get comfortable, clear your mind, and let us begin. Chapter 1. Why your brain translates and why it is holding you back. Your brain is the most sophisticated learning machine that has ever existed on this planet. It has been refined over millions of years of evolution to find patterns, make connections, and conserve energy wherever possible. And this is important to understand, because the translation habit you have developed is not a failure. It is actually your brain doing exactly what it was designed to do. When you first started learning English, you were given a framework. You were taught that the English word for your native word means this, that this grammar structure corresponds to that grammar structure. Your teachers, your textbooks, your language apps, they all taught you English as a translation system, word for word, sentence for sentence. They gave you a dictionary inside your head, and they told you to use it. And so, your brain did what it always does. It built a habit, it created a neural pathway, a mental shortcut that said, when you need English, go through your native language first. That pathway became automatic. Then it became deeply grooved into your thinking. And now it fires every single time you try to speak, even when you do not want it to. Here is the problem with that pathway. It is slow. Every time you translate, you are adding an extra step. Imagine you are trying to run a race, but before every single stride, you have to stop and tie your shoe. That is what translation does to your speech. It interrupts the flow. It creates a delay between thought and expression. And in real conversations, that delay is devastating. But there is something even deeper going on, and this is what most people never realize. When you translate, you are not just slowing yourself down. You are actually limiting the quality of what you say. Because language is not just a code for thought. Language shapes thought. The way English speakers express ideas, is fundamentally different from the way speakers of other languages express the same ideas. English has idioms, rhythms, emotional textures that do not have direct equivalents in other languages. When you translate, you are forcing English into the mold of your native language, and the result always sounds a little bit off, a little bit foreign, a little bit wooden. Native speakers do not think and then speak. They think in words. The words and the thoughts happen at the same time. The language is the thought. And that is exactly what you need to train your brain to do. Now, I want you to think about something for a moment. Think about a time when you were very emotional, when you were angry or laughing really hard or shocked by something. What happened to your English in that moment? For most people, one of two things happened. Either your English completely fell apart, or, and this is the interesting one, it suddenly got better. When emotions are running high, the brain does not have time to translate. It bypasses the slow analytical pathways and goes directly to whatever language is most automatic. If English is not yet your default, you fall apart. But here is the fascinating thing. If you have been training the right way, you can sometimes access a more fluent, more natural English in emotional moments, precisely because the translation filter drops away. That tells you everything you need to know about where fluency lives. Fluency does not live in your analytical mind. It lives in your automatic mind. And the entire job of this masterclass is to move your English from the analytical system to the automatic system. Let me tell you about how the brain actually processes language in simple terms. There are two broad modes of thinking that are relevant here. The first is slow, deliberate, analytical thinking. This is the mode you use when you are solving a math problem or carefully planning what to write in an important email. It is precise and logical, but it is slow. The second mode is fast, automatic, intuitive thinking. This is the mode you use when you are having a flowing conversation, when you are telling a joke, when you are reacting to something in real time. This mode is incredibly fast, but it can only work with material that has already been deeply internalized. When you translate, you are using the first mode. When a native speaker talks, they are using the second mode. And the entire transformation we are working toward is a migration, moving your English from the slow mode into the fast mode so that it becomes automatic, effortless, and natural. The good news is that this migration is not only possible, it is inevitable if you train correctly. Your brain is neuroplastic. It rewires itself based on experience. Every time you practice thinking in English, you are literally building new neural pathways. You are creating new grooves in your brain. And over time, those grooves become the path of least resistance. The new habit replaces the old one. But here is the key word: correctly. Because most people who are trying to improve their English are not training correctly. Then they are doing things that reinforce the translation habit rather than breaking it. They are studying vocabulary lists, which is translation. They are doing grammar exercises where they convert sentences from one language to another, which is translation. They are using apps that show them a picture and ask them for the word, and they think the picture, then their native word, then the English word, which is translation. Everything changes when you start training in English from English. When you encounter a new word and you define it with other English words instead of translating it. When you think about your day in English instead of narrating it in your native language and then imagining how to say it in English. When you dream in English, and yes, that is something that can and will happen when you follow this program. And that is where we are going. And the first step is simply understanding what we are up against. You now know that the translation habit is a neural pattern. It is grooved into your brain, but it is not permanent. It is not your identity. It is not a ceiling on your ability. It is just a habit, and habits can be changed. In the chapters that follow, we are going to attack that habit from every angle. We are going to use neuroscience, psychology, linguistics, and practical daily training to systematically replace it with a new habit, the habit of thinking in English. Chapter 2. The concept of language immersion and how to create it without moving to an English-speaking country. When people talk about the fastest way to learn a language, they almost always say the same thing. Move to the country, immerse yourself. And there is real truth in that idea, but there is also a massive misunderstanding buried inside it. Because the people who move to a new country and come back fluent did not become fluent just because they were surrounded by the language. They became fluent because of what that environment forced their brain to do. Think about what actually happens when you land in a new country and you do not speak the language well. First, there is panic. You need to buy groceries, and you do not know how to ask where the milk is. You need to take the bus, and you cannot read the schedule. You need to make friends, and you cannot express your personality. So your brain is put under pressure, real, immediate, emotional pressure. And under that pressure, it has two choices. Keep trying to translate everything and fail constantly, and to find a way to function directly in the new language. Most people, in that situation, eventually choose the second option. Not because they are smart or talented, but because they have no other choice. The survival instinct kicks in and tells the brain, figure this out, and figure it out now. And the brain responds by building those pathways fast. So the secret of immersion is not geography. The secret of immersion is pressure, purpose, and repetition in the target language. And every single one of those three things can be recreated wherever you are in the world right now. Let us talk about how to build immersion into your daily life without moving anywhere. The first thing you need to do is change your environment. And I mean this literally. Change the language settings on your phone to English. Change your computer to English. And change your social media to English. This matters more than most people realize, because your phone is something you interact with dozens or hundreds of times a day. Every time you check a notification, look at the time, read a menu, open an app, your brain is processing language. If that language is always your native language, you are reinforcing the native language pathways constantly. If that language switches to English, you start building English associations with everyday life. You start seeing the world through an English lens. The second thing is to surround yourself with English audio, not study audio, not slow, carefully pronounced textbook audio, real English audio. Podcasts, audiobooks, YouTube channels, movies, television shows, interviews, stand-up comedy, documentaries, whatever you genuinely enjoy consuming. And here is the critical part. Do not use subtitles in your native language. If you need subtitles, use English subtitles. But your goal is to eventually not need them at all. Now, a lot of people push back on this. They say, if I do not understand everything, what is the point? And the point is this. When you are listening to English and you cannot reach for your native language as a safety net, because there are no subtitles, because it is going too fast, because you have decided you are going to stay in the English stream, your brain is forced to work with what it has. It starts picking up context. It starts using tone, rhythm, and surrounding words to piece together meaning. This is exactly how children learn language, not by translating, but by inferring. And this inferential processing is what builds the intuitive understanding you need for fluency. The third element of building immersion at home is creating social pressure. Find people to speak English with. This does not have to be a native speaker. Language exchange partners, online communities, conversation clubs, video call groups. There are millions of people around the world who want to practice their English with someone who is motivated just like you. The social element is crucial because it adds that emotional pressure that the brain needs. When you are talking to a real person in real time, you cannot pause and translate. You have to respond, and that urgency is the engine of fluency. The fourth element, and perhaps the most underestimated one, is making your internal world English. Your inner monologue, the voice inside your head that narrates your life, comments on what you see, worries about things, makes decisions. That voice is almost certainly speaking your native language right now, and that needs to change. We are going to talk about this in much more depth later in the masterclass, because inner monologue training is one of the most powerful tools available to you. But for now, just plant this seed. Every moment that your inner voice can switch to English, even imperfectly, even haltingly, is a moment of real, powerful language training. You do not need a teacher present. You do not need a textbook. You just need to narrate your existence in English and let your brain start building those connections. The fifth element is reading in English, but reading in a specific way. So you are not reading and looking up every word, not reading and translating, reading and pushing through. When you encounter a word you do not know, try to guess it from context. Stay in the flow of the text. Feel the rhythm of the sentences. Let the language wash over you. Because when you read this way, you are absorbing the grammar patterns of English naturally, the way children absorb the grammar of their native language, through exposure and instinct, not through rules. Now, I want to talk about something that is slightly counterintuitive. Immersion does not mean being confused all the time. There is a concept in language learning called comprehensible input. The idea that you learn best from material that is slightly above your current level, not way above it. If everything you are listening to or reading is completely incomprehensible, your brain gives up. It cannot build anything from pure noise. But if you are getting, say, 70 to 80% of the meaning, and the remaining 20 to 30% is being filled in by context, intuition, and inference, that is the sweet spot. That is where learning explodes. So be strategic about your immersion. Start with topics you already know well. If you are passionate about football, immerse yourself in English football commentary and analysis. You already know the concepts, so your brain can focus on the language. If you love cooking, follow English cooking channels. If you are interested in psychology, listen to English psychology podcasts. Your knowledge of the topic provides a scaffold that helps your brain make sense of the language. And gradually, as your English grows stronger, but you can expand into new territory, the goal of everything in this chapter is to make English the water you swim in, not a subject you study. You want English to feel like the air around you, constant, natural, and effortless. That shift does not happen in a classroom. It happens in your daily life, through the choices you make about what you read, watch, listen to, and think in every single day. Chapter 3, Vocabulary Without Translation, Building a Native Mental Lexicon. Here is something I want you to try right now. I want you to think of the word home. Do not think of its translation. Just think of the word home and notice what happens in your mind. If English is not your native language, what probably happened is this. You thought of the word in your native language first, or you thought of a definition, or you thought of nothing but an abstract concept floating in space. But if I asked a native English speaker to think of the word home, something very different would happen. Images would come, feelings would come, memories would come, the smell of a specific kitchen, the sound of a door closing. a sense of safety or maybe longing or complicated family history. The word home for a native speaker is not a label. It is a universe of personal meaning, experience, and emotion. That is what a word in your native language feels like. And that is what words in English need to feel like if you are ever going to think in English naturally. Right now, most of the English words in your vocabulary are labels. They are linked to concepts in your native language. You know that home means your native word for home. But the native word is the real meaning, and home is just a code for it. This is the fundamental architecture of a translation-based vocabulary, and it is exactly what we need to dismantle.